What you're about to watch is a form of narrative battle report I've been chipping away at in the background. Please like, comment, and share to let me know if you're interested in more like it for Fallout Wasteland Warfare and other skirmish games. Thank you. The Commonwealth is a charnel house of horrors. FEV has been released upon the populace by the Institute, and the streets of Boston are littered with micro-tragedies as a result. Super mutants destroying, capturing, eating, or turning every settler they can find. But not all victims are innocent. Even the lawless raider gangs have had to contend with such enemies. And this is the story of just such one instance. Let's go through the players in this tale. The two forces in this battle report are 500 cap lists. For the raiders, I went ahead and took my sort of narrative themed, but the list that I took to Adepticon, it's not meant to be competitive. There's a raider veteran in power armor, and he has an assault rifle and shish kebab. But we also have two scavvers. They're both in like the lighter armor. One has a shotgun, one has an assault rifle. There's a base raider who has a 357, which is a gun that I didn't know that I would love until I played it in this game. And two psychos that are both armed with lead pipes and jet, but no armor because psychos get movement bonuses and those go away if you put armor on them. 500 caps of Super Mutants doesn't look too terribly dissimilar. Now, I will be upfront and honest with you, I had not actually used all of these Super Mutant models that I already own, and so this was a chance to break them out. That being said, I had no context for what to expect from these on the table or how to play them best. To that end, I have an aviator. He's got chains, a board, a hunting rifle. There's a brute who has chains and a super sledge. I have two mutant hounds, which are there at the end, and two normal super mutants. Now, they don't have any armor on them, but they both have a nail board and an assault rifle. The stage our players act upon is equally important. This is a 2x2 table setup using the fan-made mission pack called the Dirt Haven Dust Up. This was the Adepticon pack that I had mentioned in a previous video, and there's a link to it with all the attributions in the comments down below, or the description rather. And this is mission 4 in that pack. 3 objectives run diagonally across the center of the board. You get 1 point for holding the center objective, 2 points for holding your opponent's home objective, but nothing for your own. In addition, in this format, each player gets 3 search tokens. Basically, you pick these in advance and you just decide what tests need to be taken and when players are next to them, and they act as victory points. These are represented by these 25mm tokens you see on screen. And with the game all set up according to the mission, the table looks like this. Deployments are really simple in this format. Players determine table edges and they take turns putting out a fighter on that edge. I took a few liberties when it came to where they were in terms of just trying to have them look like they were hanging, chatting out. Suboptimal, but pretty looking. As with any encounter, your first move is always to find cover. It's all about positioning, and that's no less true for these combatants. A super mutant hound races up the field and alerts the rest of the pack. Shaken by the warning howl, the raiders set to secure the area. One scaver runs up and claims the nearest stash box. Shortly after, the psycho next to him moves and takes the other. But things are not going as smoothly over on the super mutant side. The hounds have called for war, but the group is distracted by a stash box near its field edge. Both a super mutant and a brute fail to open the container. All the while, raiders are on the move, trying to assess the threat and make up for being wrong-footed, moving up to the center objective. And other than movements, the brawl officially kicks off in my estimation with the raider veteran firing off his assault rifle, dealing 3 wounds to the mutant hound that spotted them all. This is the moment when the fracas really begins. The Vanguard Mutant Hound kicks things off with a charge into the Psycho, dealing 3 damage with a flesh-rending bite. Seeing her cohort under attack, the second Psycho does a dose of jet and charges headlong into the melee. Then attacks, dealing 2 wounds to the Mutant Hound, which is just enough to kill it after the veteran leader landed his clip into it last turn. Now, of course, at this point, the Super Mutant player did go, but I want to keep things kind of in a linear story format, because not wanting to lose momentum, the injured Raider also takes his jet and hops over the dead Mutant Hound and into the nearest Super Mutant, landing 2 damage. At this point, the second Mutant Hound has found the party and makes a beeline for the first things he sees, which is a Psycho. And while he does land the charge, he fails to actually get any bites in once he gets there. To be honest though, he doesn't have a whole lot of time to get tries in because the Raider veteran comes up swinging in with his shish kebab, charging into combat and dealing 4 damage. Back on the bridge, the forwardmost Super Mutant punches up the Psycho who just charged him. 2 wounds is more than enough after taking that hound bite to put him down. Right behind him, the Aviator has been moving in the shadows to move up and claim the second stash box after succeeding a shooting test. Across the river from both of them, the Scaver with an assault rifle unloads at the brute that he just sees coming into view. For all his efforts, 2 attacks, he lands 3 damage in total. This only draws the attention and the ire of the brute, who moves swiftly across the bridge to get into the fight. The last Super Mutant moves up just in time for the Raider to jump towards the combat and unload his 357 into the brute, landing 3 wounds. Now this is where some consequential things happen in our story. The remaining Mutant Hound kicks it off by attacking the Psycho directly in front of him, but fails to land a single bite, which was very disappointing. The Raider sees another opportunity to take another 2 shots with his 357 and absolutely unloads into the brute, killing him. There's a Super Mutant who basically sees his eye on the prize and move towards the nearest stash box. Unfortunately, this puts him in range of the Scaver with the double-barrel shotgun, who fires but misses. The remaining Psycho attacks that hound who's directly in her face, and she fails all of her attacks too, right back at him. This is a heck of a slap fight. The Raider veteran finds himself engaged to 2 enemies at this point, and so he makes some choices. First off, he swings at the Mutant Hound and pulps it. For his second action, he takes a swing at the Super Mutant in base-to-base contact with them and deals 3 damage. Now in the background, 2 fighters try to be all kinds of sneaky. The Super Mutant Aviator moves at full tilt towards the last stash box on the field. And the Scaver with assault rifle has reloaded and unloads again, this time at the Super Mutant on the bridge, dealing an additional 3 damage. This round kicks off with the Aviator doing a dash towards the last stash box and testing for it, and while he succeeds in getting it, just over his shoulder, things are getting really ugly. The Raider veteran activates and does 2 fantastic attacks into the Super Mutant directly in front of him, slicing him down. The final Super Mutant remaining charges in and attacks the veteran, dealing 3 damage, which was a fantastic swing. But at this point, the vultures are descending. The remaining Psycho moves and charges in, setting up for an attack next turn, but that isn't needed because the Scaver with assault rifle fires into the melee. and just so happens to deliver the final 2 wounds needed to take the super mutant out. With his shiny trinket in hand, the aviator turned to brag to his fellow super mutants, but to his surprise and horror, his green-skinned comrades were all dead, the hounds butchered, the brute laid low, and teeming over their bodies were pathetic little humans who ruined the whole group he was trying to lead. He fled. He would be back, more cunning, more dangerous, but today the answer was to retreat. Thank you everybody for watching this. In real talk, this was really a game that shows the value of practicing a list because I'm super familiar with my Raiders list. I got like 8 games with it so far, but the Super Mutants, not so much. I learned a lot here, and there's a lot I would have done differently, but to be truthful, there were some critical moments when the Raider dice were just fire and the Mutant dice were cold as ice. That Raider with a pistol, the 357, single-handedly almost took out the brute. And he just rolled absolute, like I said, fire for 2 of those attacks. I called the game where I did because it reached the point, of course, where numerical advantage meant there was just no way the aviator couldn't stop the other player from winning or doing at least a comeback, right? Once that Raider moved into their home base, it was all over. So I decided to call it there because I had learned enough to at least deliver a more even-keeled experience with Super Mutants in the future. I definitely learned the role of hounds in the list relative to Super Mutants and brutes. You know, I did the same thing when I first played with Raiders, so we'll figure it out. But like I said before, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share if you're interested in this kind of thing. It tells me if I should make more. More than anything, thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I hope you enjoyed this narrative battle report. Happy wargaming.